Hi everyone, my name is Angela and this is the start of a new reading vlog. It is currently November 21st, okay, for proof. And I have some reading goals that I made at the beginning of the year that I would like to complete or get really close to completing by the end of the year. So let's chat about those. Number one is I want to get my physical TBR down to 50 or below. Right now I am at 54 books, so I'm very close to that. I want to read 100 books by the end of the year, and right now I'm at 96, so I'm on track for that. And then my other main goal was my 24 for 24 list. I will link that video down below if you're curious, but I'm gonna go over them right now. I have a shelf on Goodreads, so I'm just gonna screen record what I see, and we're going to look at the books that I have yet to read. So if I were to read 4 books from my 24 for 24 list, I would be completing my yearly reading goal, my TBR goal, and I would be making some progress from my 24 for 24 goal, which I don't think is quite possible that I'm going to finish. So what books do I have left? We have The Bear and the Nightingale by Katherine Arden. This is a fantasy book. It's pretty short, and I think this is the one that I'm going to read next. North and South by Elizabeth Gaskell. Don't think I'm going to be reading that this year, if I'm being honest. Okay, Agnes Grey by Anne Bronte. Same with that one. I am not in the mood to read a classic right now, and I do not see that changing. Then we have Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell by Susanna Clarke. This is a very chunky historical fantasy book, which I might consider starting after I read The Bear and the Nightingale. I do have the second and third book in the Bear and the Nightingale series, so if I really love that book, I could always read the second book and maybe even the third book, and that would still be getting books off of my physical TBR. We also have I Am, 17 Brushes with Death by Maggie O'Farrell. We have A Tale for the Time Being by Ruth Ozeki, which is a literary fiction. And I think it's going to be pretty sad because I think it's about, like, partly about suicide or bullying or something, you know, really heavy like that. The Colony I actually DNF'd. So even though I didn't read it, I tried to read it. And that still counts as, you know, it's still a check mark. And then the last two are The Namesake by June Lahiri and Inferno by Dante. I believe The Namesake is about an Indian family that moves to the US, and it's like them trying to settle and assimilate and or survive in the US. And Inferno I bought because of Hozer's album Unreal Unearthed, which I love, which is very inspired by Inferno. However, it is like an epic poem. It's written in verse, and I don't really want to read that. I think I put it on this list so that I would force myself to read it, but I don't think that's happening. So I think our best bet are these 4 books: The Bear and the Nightingale, Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell, I Am by Maggie O'Farrell, and A Tale for the Time Being. But we shall see. I don't really know when this vlog is going to end. I am a mood reader, so I don't know exactly what I'm going to be reading. I'm not 100% committing to these. But this vlog is all about making progress, and that can come in a variety of ways. So let me tell you what I'm currently reading. The only book that I'm reading right now that I own physically is Next of Kin by Hannah Bonam-Young. So when I'm done with this, it will be 53 books that I have read. Currently on page 181, so I have about 120 pages left. I'm hoping to finish it later today. So I will let you know what this book is about and what I thought of it later on. I just hurt my back as I was getting out of my car. I don't know what happened. I feel like an old lady, but like I have this like twinge in the middle of my back, and that like never happens to me. So my brain is like, oh my god, you're dying. You have some sort of disease that causes your bones to disintegrate. I don't know. I'll be fine. I forgot to update you in a timely manner that I finished Next of Kin, and I've actually finished another book, so we're gonna give a quick review of those two books and then update you on my goals, and then we're gonna pick another book to read. So Next of Kin is a romance novel that's a bit more emotional. It's about our main character, Chloe, whose mom is an addict and she's actually adopted, so she has like she has her biological mother not really in her life, but sort of on the fringes of her life, and then she has her adoptive parents, and she's recently been informed that her biological mother has had a baby at the age of like 40, and the baby has like fetal alcohol syndrome because her mother didn't actually know that she was pregnant, so she was drinking, and Chloe wants to adopt this baby and raise her as her own so that the baby doesn't have to experience the hurt and neglect that Chloe herself experienced before she was adopted. Unfortunately, the Child Protective Services I think this takes place in Canada, they do not deem her financially stable enough to raise this baby on her own. So they have this new program where they kind of pair up people who are trying to do next of kin adoption, and it's not very realistic, but basically it's like she lives in this rent stabilized apartment that has a few empty bedrooms, and so she's going to let this guy and his brother who he's trying to adopt move in, and they will pay her rent money, and in exchange they will have a reasonable place to stay, because although the other guy has enough money, there just aren't enough like reasonably priced apartments in the area of his brother's school district. So it's kind of like they're helping each other out. They have this arrangement where they're going to do this for 9 months or 6 months or 5 months, something like that. And then CPS will reevaluate them and, you know, say if they can adopt their siblings or not. So our male main character is Warren, and he has a 15-year-old brother that he's trying to adopt, and his brother is deaf, so we have some deaf representation in this book as well. I didn't really mind that the whole like CPS next of kin pairing up program thing was a little unrealistic. Like, it was fine. I think maybe it would have been a little better if Chloe and Warren had like met out in the wild somewhere and like got to talking and realized that they had this situation. But then you wouldn't have the kind of like dislike to lovers dynamic that we have here, because Chloe is a very like sweet, outgoing, generous person who's like very, you know, hard on her sleeve, and Warren is a bit more slow to open up to people and can come off as quite like rude or cold or abrasive. The main reason that I didn't end up loving this as much as I loved Out on a Limb, which I gave 5 stars, is that they went from 0 to 100 so quick. Like, I thought that this arrangement, I think it was 5 months that they were living together. I thought that that was like a perfect time over which they could fall in love, right? Like 5 months of living with someone and like sharing responsibilities and getting to know each other. Like, that is a reasonable amount of time for you to fall for someone. But they basically go from roommates to I love you in like a couple months. And it was just like, slow down. I wanted them to have a longer period of like kind of pining for each other and kind of saying like, no, we can't do this because there's so much at stake. And then yeah, I wanted there to be a longer period, and then them getting together, and then maybe towards the end they could say I love you. But I was just, the I love you so early was just like throwing me off. So I did enjoy this. I did cry twice. There were some really like touching moments in this book, so I still did enjoy this for sure. There was like one main thing that just like kept it from being a really phenomenal book. And then the other book that I finished is The Obelisk Gate by N.K. Jemisin. I just finished the 5th season this month as well, so I jumped like straight into the second book, and I'm giving this one 4 stars. I thought this book was really good, but wasn't as brilliant and mind-blowing as the 5th season, which is what I've heard a lot of people say. But I think if you liked the first book, you will definitely like the second book. We get some more answers about the world building and the lore of how everything works in this world, which for me is like the main reason why I'm reading this book, this series. And also the characters, especially our main character, Esun. I just feel like as the reader, you're really invested in what's happening to her and if she's going to survive and if she's going to do the things that she's trying to do to keep it vague. So yeah, I really enjoyed this one. I think maybe it was a little bit too short of a time period for like the length of the book. So like I felt like it took place over like a short amount of time and it was like a long book. So I kind of felt like, I don't know what I want. It wasn't perfect. So 4 stars is still a really good rating. I'm really glad I read it. I will probably finish the trilogy in like January because for the rest of the year I just have other things that are on my mind that I want to read more. But I think reading it within like a month and a half will still give me the opportunity to like hold everything in my brain. So now we're gonna go choose our next book. Okay, so these are all the books that I mentioned at the beginning of the video, and I think I am the most excited about The Bear and the Nightingale. So I'm gonna try to start this today, but I am also going to see Wicked with my friend today. I haven't seen it yet. I'm really excited. And that is like a 3-hour movie. So to me, it's like my whole day is Wicked. Like I can't do anything else. It's just Wicked. And I also might listen to This Could Be Us by Kennedy Ryan on audio. I also have it on my Kindle as an e-arc, but I kind of wanted to listen to an audiobook because I don't know, just romance on audio has been really working for me. So I will let you know how I feel about those books when I read a little bit of them later. Hello, I owe you some updates. Number 1, I saw Wicked with my friend. She made me these really cute friendship bracelets, which is really nice for her. And I really liked it. I don't know if I mentioned this, but I did not really know what the story was going to be about. I had a few inklings and I knew a few songs, but the overall plot of Wicked I really didn't know. So it was really nice going into it without having a clue. I am 100 pages into The Bear and the Nightingale, which is exactly a third of it because this book is like literally 300 pages, which is a really short fantasy book. So let me give you the basic plot and my thoughts so far. So we are in Russia and the main character is Vasilisa or Vazia, and she's a young girl. Her father is like the I think he's called a boyar. He's like the landowner in charge of like all the peasants who work for him in this like remote location where they live in Russia. And Vazia was actually her mother's last child. Her mother died while giving birth to her, and so she's growing up without a mother. She has a father and like a nanny, like grandma kind of figure who takes care of her. But her father is realizing that she needs a mother figure in her life, so he goes to Moscow to find a wife. And the wife is quite a devout Christian, and so the plot of the story is kind of the age-old tale of like paganism versus Christianity. All of that is to say, she gets a new stepmother, and it's kind of a classic tale of the stepmother is kind of difficult. I haven't actually gotten too far into what the stepmother is going to change about the village, but that is like on the back cover. In terms of the magic, a lot of this is based on like Russian folklore. So we have like house spirits and creatures that have to do with like nature. And on the back it says that, you know, Vazia is going to have to fight against some sort of force, some sort of evil that's straight out of a fairy tale. So a third into the book and we still haven't necessarily gotten to all the things in the synopsis, so it seems like a very like slow kind of story. I feel like I've been reading this for a lot longer than 100 pages. I heard people talking about how this doesn't really feel very fantasy. It feels like more historical fiction. And I was like, okay, that's not gonna bother me. But I don't know. I just feel like there's some je ne sais quoi missing in this for me so far. Maybe now that I'm 100 pages in and we've kind of established all of the plot points that need to be established in order to move forward, maybe it'll be more gripping. And then the other book that I started is actually not the book that I mentioned, the romance book. I actually ended up starting I was about to say the Thursday Murder Club. It's the Marlow Murder Club. This is kind of like a cozy mystery set in an English village, an English town called Marlow, which is apparently a real place. I looked it up. And we have our main character, Judith, I believe, who is an old lady who lives in a mansion that she inherited from her mother or aunt or something like that. And she's kind of eccentric, and everyone in the village is really curious about her. And the story kicks off with her hearing a gunshot from her neighbor's house, and so she's convinced that her neighbor has been murdered, and the police initially go over to check it out. They don't really find anything, so they kind of leave it be because they think she's just, you know, a crazy old lady hearing things. And she eventually does uncover the body, and so things kick off from there. She's kind of interacting with other members of the town that she's not necessarily close to, and is like meeting for the first time or getting to know for the first time throughout her kind of like investigation. She's kind of, you know, going around and asking questions and snooping around because she's not convinced that the police are going to do a good job. I'm listening to this one on audio. It is on Hoopla, and I'm really enjoying it. I think it's exactly what I needed in this moment. It's been quite a while since I read a mystery book. Well, that's not true. I read a mystery book at the beginning of November, but it feels like a long time ago. It's November 30th, so I don't know that I'm gonna finish this book by the end of the day, but maybe that will be my goal. I really wish I had the audiobook for it. I have it on hold, so we will see. So it is the afternoon of December 2nd, and I have finished The Bear and the Nightingale. It took me a little bit to get into this. I was having a little bit of trouble at the beginning, but as it went on, it definitely got a lot more plot driven. I mean, not a lot more plot driven, but the overall plot of the story started to come into focus, and probably helped that I also got an audiobook from my library to help me get through this. I think this series has a lot of potential to really grow on me. I think the second and third books may be a lot more exciting for me, but I did still really enjoy this, so I'm gonna give it 3.75 stars. I definitely think there's something special about Katherine Arden's writing, and the atmosphere was really amazing in this, and I liked all of the fantastical folkloric creatures that were introduced. And I did end up really liking Vazia's character. We did spend a lot more time with her as the book went on, and I'm excited to see where her character arc goes in future books. There's only 2 more. I own both of them, so perhaps I will try to tackle those within the next few months. So that brings me to 99 books read for the year and 52 books on my physical TBR. So the only thing to do is to start a new book on my physical TBR. And I very much doubt I'm going to be able to finish this in this video, which I'm hoping to end at like the end of this week. But I think I'm going to try to start Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell by Susanna Clarke. I'm very intimidated by this book, but at the beginning of the year I chose this one as one that I was really excited to read and really wanted to make sure I prioritized, and so I feel like I should do that, especially since I do really believe that this could be a winner. I have been reading Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell for a couple of days now. I also have the audiobook, so I know that it is pronounced Norrell and not Norrell. Although I wonder if it's okay to say Norrell because I'm American and they're British, so I wonder if Norrell is just like, I don't know, Mr. Norrell. It's just so like British. I don't know. I feel like we wouldn't say it like that in in America. Anyway, this book is basically like reading a classic from the 19th century, except there is magic in it. The setting and the writing style really make you feel like you're reading a classic, and I'm really enjoying this so far. It is the very beginning of the 19th century in England, and England is at war with France, and magic is kind of just a thing of the past. The people who call themselves magicians are really just these gentlemen who are scholars and have lots and lots of time on their hands to read old books about magic and talk about it and be in these little magical societies with their friends where they just talk about magic. But at the start of the book, we are introduced to a character called Mr. Norrell, who is a practicing magician, and people are very skeptical of him, and so he kind of has to prove his abilities, and from there he's going on this kind of journey of trying to bring magic back to England. And he also wants to use his magical abilities to help England in the war against France. I am on page 159. I've been listening to the new audiobook narrated by Richard Armitage, something like that. He's like one of the actors from The Hobbit. He's a very good voice actor, and so sometimes I've just been listening, but I've also been following along. Yeah, I don't know, something about this just really feels like, I don't know, like I've loved a lot of classics like set in England and, you know, ye olden times, and I've loved a lot of fantasy books, and so combining them in this way is just so unique, and I really am enjoying this. I can totally see someone picking this up and thinking that it's the most boring book I've ever read, but like, I don't know how to describe it. Like, I can see how people would find it boring, but I don't find it boring. There are also like fun illustrations, and the magic actually has a lot to do with like fae, and like fae as in like the people, but also fae as in like the land of fae. And I did not expect that, so that's interesting. I mean, I probably should have, because a lot of the folklore of like the UK has to do with fae. So we will see. We actually haven't gotten very much of Jonathan Strange yet, so there's still a lot of book to go. This book is 850 pages, but honestly, I don't mind. I don't mind. As long as I finish this within the next like 2 weeks or so, I will be happy. And then I did finish the Marlow Murder Club the other day. I gave it 3.5 stars. I think it was a good mystery that was like on the cozier side. And yeah, I don't have that much to say about it. Like, I just thought it was a good time. I didn't necessarily love it, but I had like such an enjoyable experience reading it because, I don't know, it's just like easy to get into. I liked the audiobook narrator's performance as like this old lady. I liked how spunky our main character Judith was. I liked the little bit of the found family that we got, because we basically had 3 characters who were living in this town of Marlow, and they had never really like spoken to each other. They didn't know each other, but they were all kind of involved in the investigation somehow, and so they ended up like trying to solve the crime together. So basically it was a good time. Nothing too complex to say. I would definitely recommend it if you like murder mysteries, if you're looking for something with that like quintessential English village setting. It was cute. I mean, there was murder as well, but overall it was a good time. Well, it is the evening of December 7th, so we're going to be ending this vlog. I managed to squeeze in a short romance novella called Cruel Winter with You by Ali Hazelwood. This is like one of those like prime reading books that you can download for free to your Kindle if you have a Prime account. So I was just in the mood for something really fast and easy and Christmassy, and I enjoyed this one. I gave it 3 stars. This is essentially a like childhood friends to lovers type of trope set in like Illinois at Christmas time, where these 2 people are seeing each other during the holidays when they usually don't see each other. So it's, you know, bringing up a lot of feelings and conversations, etc., etc. You know how romance books go. So I'm currently at 101 books. In terms of my physical TBR, if we don't count Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell, I have 52 books. If you do count this one as like no longer being unread, because I'm halfway, well, I'm not halfway through, but I'm a very good ways into it, then I would have 51. I'm tempted to just say I've got 52 books left on my physical TBR. I did not indeed finish this book, by today, but I am really, really, really enjoying it. Like, I'm feeling like this could be a 5-star new favorite. There's a lot more like fae whimsy and trickery than I was expecting, and I really like that aspect of it. There's also a lot of humor, not like laugh out loud funny kind of humor, but just like you can tell that the author is poking a little bit of fun at some of these characters and how ridiculous they are at times. And at this point we have a decent cast of characters who we are switching between, not from their perspective, it's still third person, but we're following a bunch of characters and I'm interested in all of them. Haven't been bored during any of it. It's really, really lovely. So yeah, I'm on page 323 out of 850. So I'm hoping to finish it within the next week, so that would be like December 14th, and I will really try to read 2 more books from my physical TBR, and hopefully one of those will be from my 24 for 24 list. So with The Bear and the Nightingale and this one, we are reading 2 more from that list, which is decent progress. There is no way I'm gonna finish that list, but if you're curious about which of these goals that I meet and how my reading year ends up being, I will be posting a video both for my favorite books, for my worst books, and for how my yearly goals went. I'm also super excited to film my 25 for 25 book list. I love filming that at the beginning of this year, and 25 is just such a great number. Thank you so much for watching this video. Don't forget to subscribe if you want to see more bookish content from me, and I hope you have a lovely week.